Hey everybody, thanks for joining me in today's video. I want to talk about this aftermath of the Diddy verdict and my disappointment in the trial. When I heard about this case, I thought finally we're going to find out where all these bodies are buried. I mean, we got a lot of dirty laundry. We got to hear about the Punisher and cowboys and angels, but the truth, like what's been important to the culture for years, these stories about Kim Porter, Tupac, Biggie, these type of things, and a lot of other rumors that will probably come out in the civil case if half of them don't fall by the wayside, and Cassie's origin story. Namely, that could have been cleared up by putting Ryan Leslie on the stand. One, because there was so much stretching of the truth, and no truth really came out. In this 10-album record deal, which was not Cassie's record deal, it was Ryan Leslie's record deal. Ryan Leslie was the producer, and he had his own company, Next Selection, and he signed Cassie to his label, and then they went into a joint venture together with Diddy. But Ryan Leslie was the man, because Ryan Leslie was actually Cassie's boyfriend.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Ryan Leslie, representing Next Selection, and you're checking me out right now on VladTV.com.
At the time that she signed that first deal and you guys working together,
yeah,
was this a romantic relationship?
I'll say I love Cassie. I love her. You know what I mean? And I fell in love with her. I fell in love with the music. I fell in love with her family, and everything that it took. For two young people in New York City hustling together.
Was there a situation where a rift happened, between you two? Was it anything that you could pinpoint?
There's definitely a lot of factors, a lot of situations, a lot of nuances that I could pinpoint, but I don't feel comfortable talking about them publicly.
You would never know it from this trial. You would never know it from Cassie's complaint. They just gloss over Ryan Leslie. And disclaimer, I'm not a follower. If I'm a follower of anybody, it would be Ryan Leslie. I'm not the Diddy follower. I can respect some things that he's done in business, but we have heard a lot of unsavory things about him. I am not a follower of Cassie, although I applaud her in getting something for her pain and suffering. She spent a lot of years and who knows what she would have become. But she didn't go to New York to become a vocalist or a dancer. She went to New York as an aspiring model. But even though Cassie went to New York to be this aspiring model, and you know the kind of stuff that models get caught up in, and Cassie got caught up in that stuff. Even before she hooked up with Ryan Leslie, she was really moving very quickly for a young girl. And Cassie is, she's smart. She's always been well-spoken. I've always noticed that about her. But she's a light touch. Or is she? Going to New York, she's not from New York. She's from Connecticut. You're 18-year-old. New York has a history of eating people up and spitting them out, and especially moving around these high-powered circles like that. Hey, it don't matter where you're moving around in New York. They've written a lot of songs about it and made a lot of movies about that city, because that city is no joke. It has gotten more, let's say, tourist-friendly in the last decades, but New York has a history, and I can't think of too many people that want to see their young loved one, sister, daughter going to New York and just, I'm going to New York to be an aspiring model. Now, I can see why the prosecution wouldn't want to put Ryan Leslie on the stand, because he would shake up the whole origin story. Ryan Leslie's Wikipedia page, accepted into Harvard at the tender age of 15, as well as 2 other Ivy League schools with perfect SAT score, and graduated from Harvard at the tender age of 19. So meeting Cassie at 18, you could kind of see, even though Ryan Leslie was in relation to Cassie, he was pretty ripe, okay? 10 years older than Cassie. So Cassie, they gloss over this in the complaint of Cassie's. They gloss over this during the trial. Say that Diddy just swept her up out of nowhere. It wasn't out of nowhere. Was it dirty? I think it's pretty dirty, but Cassie did jump ship. Just listen to Cassie and Ryan talk about it.
London, Connecticut. I moved to New York when I was 18 to pursue a dream of being in the entertainment industry.
Remember when I first ran into her, there were a bunch of just gorgeous, drop-dead, gorgeous girls celebrating a birthday party.
So actually, when I first heard about Ryan Leslie was through a makeup artist that I had worked with. And she was like, I know this really great producer. He is, from what I've heard, he's really fun to work with. He's super talented. And I think you would get along with him great.
These makeup artists, a young lady by the name of Mila, who had told me about this young woman who had a beautiful texture to her voice that just needed to be developed.
He actually turned out to be a really great guy. He called me weeks after I gave my number to him.
She was a little reluctant to let me know that she had a voice for real.
I wasn't going to come out and be like, oh, I'm a singer, can I record a song?
It wasn't until her mother coaxed us into cutting the records.
Well, you should just really ask him, do this favor for me, for my birthday, record me a song. And I was like, you have to pay producers. I was like, I don't have to do none.
I was finally able to get her here, and then we made a record called Kiss Me.
Like who is this random girl in the office? All of a sudden, I heard this song in the office, and then they asked me to come in, and I was like, let's keep freaking out because I had no idea what was going on. And how I was like, do you sing? And it's like, you should. So that's where everything started, and I got my deal.
Tommy saw magic in this thing. And I think he saw some of the same things that I saw, in that Cassie just had a special voice, but not only a voice, but even the texture of her voice, the way that she delivered the record was something that was special and something that really, it really touched the heartstring. First time she got a chance to, I think it was actually her first time in Europe, and we were in Germany and we performed this record, and people it was just something mad.
And Ryan Leslie and Cassie have kind of mixed up their origin story, because people do that kind of stuff just for effect, say, oh, it started off like this. It was so innocent, and oh my God, and So you see they flirted around a little bit with the story, but most of the rest of it checks out because it really moved fast. She was just in it to win it, going with the flow. And it seems like everybody else in her family benefited from it too. So the 10-album record deal was really Ryan Leslie's. And it wasn't far-fetched for Ryan Leslie to have a 10-album deal because Ryan was a go-to producer that had already, before he hooked up with Cassie, worked with the likes of Beyonce, Chris Brown, LL. He worked for Diddy, Britney Spears. The list goes on. This is before he ever hooked up with Cassie. And you have to do your own research and believe what you want to believe. But when Ryan Leslie met Cassie out at a night when she was clubbing, he was looking at the group of girls. It was like, girls clubbing together, and Ryan had his eye on somebody else. It wound up being with Cassie, and he didn't start recording Cassie at the beginning of their relationship. They were long into their relationship, and Cassie came up with this story.
It wasn't until her mother coaxed us into cutting the records.
Well, you should just really ask him, do this favor for me, for my birthday, record me a song. And I was like, you have to pay producers. I was like, I don't have to do none.
See, and this is the thing, this just popping up in my head. Even in the trial, they mentioned that Cassie, when she met Diddy, she had her own money, even out of her own mouth.
You have to pay producers. I was like, I don't have to do none.
I'm sorry, Ryan, because Ryan, when Cassie dropped Ryan and broke his heart, he didn't want to have nothing to do with this story. He got some money from Diddy, got some zeros added to his bank account, and Ryan just stepped off. Even though, I mentioned this before, strange things have happened to Ryan Leslie. Diddy basically kicked him off his own project, and Cassie didn't seem to have a problem with that. There's the story about Cassie. It's here. Cassie's makeup artist told her that Ryan Leslie was interested in. These stories were getting stretched around. Ryan clearly said he has repeated over and over that he met Cassie. Cassie was out with these girls partying, and hey, it went from there. And again, it was towards the latter part of their relationship when he recorded her. So how did Cassie get so popular? It was on MySpace, and it was not really it was not really all the way organic, or probably none of the way organic, because Ryan Leslie had a friend that was part of the inner workings of MySpace. And this friend dealt with the inner workings of MySpace, like the algorithms and whatnot. And with Ryan Leslie being tech savvy himself, they came up with a plan to make anyone looking for music on MySpace, they made sure that you landed on Cassie's page.
It was really just me and one of my brothers, Rashid Richmond.
Started the company?
Yeah, he was actually, and he's always been super early.
Right.
So he had actually built a social network and was exchanging emails with Mark Zuckerberg. Like, that's how early he was on building social networks,
Wow.
right? He still, send me the screenshots, etc. So he basically was like, look, Rye, if you check out the MySpace music charts, I want you to check out who's number one today, and then tomorrow I want you to call me and check out who's number one tomorrow. And he had a way that he could actually
Do the algorithms
manipulate,
early?
yes,
Wow.
early,
Wow.
and he could make anybody number one on MySpace music. Now, this wasn't.
And Ryan Leslie's Wikipedia page reads, Anthony Ryan Leslie, born September 25th, 1978, is an American singer, songwriter, rapper, record producer, and entrepreneur, working predominantly in contemporary R&B and hip hop. He has released 6 studio albums and written songs for artists including Beyonce, Britney Spears, Chris Brown, Diddy, Fabulous, LL Cool J, Kanye West, and Usher, among others. What's most interesting in relation to this video that I'm doing, Leslie is credited with discovering R&B singer Cassie in 2004. Okay, that's when they initially did the recording, but he met her before that. Cassie in 2004, who signed to his Next Selection record label in a joint venture with Puff Daddy's Bad Boy Records 2 years later. Leslie wrote and produced her 2006 debut single, Me and You, which peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and received platinum certification by the Recording Industry Association of America. And that success has never been repeated, even with the whole machine jumping behind Cassie and Diddy throwing all of Bad Boy's resources at her. That's why you had this antagonistic type of testimony from Capricorn Clark on the stand when she talked about Cassie.
And this was back when she was still with Ryan Leslie, her former boyfriend, but also who used to be her producer. And that's when Capricorn actually had first met Cassie. So this was even prior to Cassie signing with Bad Boy. And she said that she didn't always get along with Cassie. She said these issues kind of began around 2008 when Cassie and Diddy started dating. And Capricorn had explained that Cassie's expectation level was increasing. She went from being kind of a sweet model to a feisty girlfriend. That's what she said on the stand. Then they kind of got into Cassie's talent range in a way where essentially the defense and Capricorn were saying that she had talent, but she wasn't talented. And, these are not coming from my own mouth, but that was something that was being discussed while on the stand. And so Capricorn explained that Cassie was more of a studio artist and not necessarily a live performer. Got a lot of support from Diddy and from Diddy's businesses as far as, getting access to stylists and choreographers and some of the best of the best. And I think, the defense is trying to point out that Cassie wasn't struggling for anything essentially because it was all provided to her and that she was a lot more successful possibly than maybe some of the jurors had realized. And so Capricorn was asked, were there other artists in Bad Boy getting less attention? And Capricorn responded yes. And so from 2007 to 2009, Capricorn explained that Cassie got a considerable amount of attention. Again, this was at the start of their relationship. And she said the lion's share of Bad Boy was actually focused on Cassie. Because there were times during direct testimony, during cross testimony, that I was just kind of like, did she care about Cassie? Were they really friends? Because I feel like from Kid Cudi's explanation, he had explained that Capricorn Clark.
As Capricorn Clark, Diddy's assistant, was there at Bad Boy Records during the Kim Porter days, which is part of some urban concern that she was gone. For sure she passed too soon, but that she met her demise because of foul play. Supposedly. I don't want nobody to ever come at me for defamation, but the story don't originate with me. But those are her 2 beautiful daughters that you see going to court that look very much like her. They're just gorgeous girls. It's a shame, man. It's really a shame. People made choices in this situation. Cassie dropped Ryan like a bad habit. I guess I would think Ryan may have been too square for Cassie. Cassie gave a lot of testimony about how Diddy forced himself on her. He came uninvited to her party and kissed her and all this and did all this, set up all this stuff so that he could get her alone. But I think if Cassie would have went to Ryan, her boyfriend, and told her that he was uncomfortable, he would have been her protector. Ryan Leslie, you will see, he was all at Cassie's parents' house. He was part of the family.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Ryan Leslie, representing Next Election, and you're checking me out right now on GladTV.com.
At the time that she signed that first deal and you guys working together,
Yeah.
was this a romantic relationship?
I'll say I love Cassie. I love her. You know what I mean? And, I fell in love with her. I fell in love with the music. I fell in love with her family and everything that it took, for two young people in New York City hustling together.
Was there a situation where a rift happened, between you two? Was it anything that you could pinpoint?
There's definitely a lot of factors, a lot of situations, a lot of nuances that I could pinpoint, but I don't feel comfortable talking about them publicly.
I did a whole video about Ryan Leslie, but that could be more in depth. But y'all can let me know what y'all think. There's people who are like, who cares about these rich people? It's not exclusive to them, because what Diddy is finally getting hung on, this could get all kinds of wild. In that, is this count in the indictment sticking because of its true stickability and that it really should be enforced? Or is it sticking because Diddy has been such a lowly character? It's like something gotta stick. I do at some point want to talk about the situation where Cassie, I first noticed her hooked up with Diddy, and I know her mother had to notice that. That was just all kinds of wrong. And please let me know what y'all think. Thanks for stopping by. Till I see y'all the next time. Peace.